One night, one deal, one billionaire. The city hummed with a restless pulse, its neon veins glowing under the weight of a starless night. Emily Anderson stood on the corner of 6th Avenue, her breath visible in the chilly air, her fingers clutching a phone that held a single cryptic message. 1006 6th Avenue, come now, $50,000. Her heart thudded, not from the cold, but from the desperation that had driven her here. Her father, Tom, lay in a hospital bed, his legs useless since the accident that saved her life. The surgery to restore him was tomorrow, and the cost, a staggering $50,000, hung like a noose around her neck. At 20, Emily was a college student drowning in debt, her dreams of a literature degree buried under medical bills and loan shark threats. She'd heard the stories, girls selling their eggs on the black market, trading futures for quick cash. One had come into the clinic where Emily volunteered, her body ravaged by a botched procedure, her dreams of motherhood stolen. Emily swore she'd never go that far. But tonight, with the clock ticking and her father's life on the line, she was out of options. The elevator to the penthouse felt like a cage, its mirrored walls reflecting her pale, anxious face. She smoothed her worn jacket, her stomach twisting as the doors opened to a world of opulence. The penthouse was all glass and steel, a fortress above the city's chaos. And there he stood, Grayson Blackwood, billionaire heir to the Blackwood Empire, his presence as commanding as the skyline beyond. His dark hair was swept back, his gray eyes sharp enough to cut through her defenses. "You're late," he said, his voice a low, dangerous purr. I think there's a mistake," Emily stammered, clutching her bag like a lifeline. "I got a text about money for my dad's surgery." Grayson's lips curved, not quite a smile. "No mistake. You're here for a deal." He stepped closer, his gaze pinning her in place. "Look at me, Emily. No hiding." Her breath caught. How did he know her name? I don't do that," she said, her voice trembling. "I thought this was about donor eggs or—" He laughed, a sound that sent shivers down her spine. "Eggs? You're in deeper waters than that." He gestured to a leather couch. "Sit. Tell me why you're here." She hesitated, then spilled her story. Her father's accident, the crushing debt, the loan sharks circling like vultures. Grayson listened, his expression unreadable, his fingers steepled under his chin. When she finished, he leaned back, studying her like a puzzle he hadn't yet solved. 50,000, she whispered, her voice breaking. "That's what I need. I'll pay you back, I swear." He stood, pacing to the window, the city sprawling beneath him. "One night," he said, turning to face her. "You stay here with me. No games, no lies, just you and me, and the money's yours." Her heart stopped. What does that mean?" "It means," he said, stepping closer, "you give me your time. Your truth, and I give you what you need." His eyes softened, just a fraction. "I'm not a monster, Emily, but I don't offer charity." Grayson Blackwood wasn't supposed to feel anything. At 32, he'd built walls around his heart, forged in the crucible of a family that valued power over love. As a surgeon, he saved lives. As a billionaire, he wielded control. But Emily, with her trembling courage and raw honesty, cracked something in him. She wasn't like the women who flocked to his wealth, all polish and pretense. She was real, fragile, yet fierce, and he wanted her. Not just her body, but the fire in her soul. He watched her now, perched on his couch, her fingers twisting nervously. "Why me?" she asked, her voice barely audible. "Because you're different," he said, pouring a glass of whiskey and sliding it toward her. She shook her head, and he smiled faintly. "You're not here for my money? You're here for someone else. That's rare." They talked, the hours slipping away like sand. She spoke of her father's laughter before the accident, her love for poetry, the weight of guilt that kept her awake. He shared fragments of his own life, the pressure of the Blackwood name, the solace he found in the operating room. Somewhere in the quiet, their guards fell. His hand brushed hers, and she didn't flinch. When he leaned closer, her eyes fluttered shut, and their lips met, a spark that ignited something neither could name. The kiss was electric, hungry, her hands finding his chest as his arms pulled her close. Her body pressed against his, soft curves against hard lines, and the world narrowed to the heat between them. He deepened the kiss, tasting her fear and her fire, and she responded, her fingers tangling in his hair. It wasn't about the money anymore. It was about the way her breath hitched when he touched her, the way his pulse raced when she whispered his name. "Grayson," she murmured, pulling back, her eyes wide. This isn't what I expected." "Nor I," he admitted, his voice rough. But I don't want you to go. Dawn painted the penthouse gold. Emily woke in Grayson's arms, their bodies tangled on the couch, clothes rumpled but intact. They hadn't gone further than kisses, but the intimacy felt like a vow. He stirred, his gray eyes meeting hers. You stayed, he said, a smile softening his sharp features. You asked me to, she replied, her voice soft. He handed her an envelope, heavy with promise. 50,000? For your father? She stared at it, then at him. I can't just... You can, he said, his tone firm. And you will. But this isn't the end, Emily. I want you in my life. Not because of a deal. Her heart stuttered. Why me? Because you make me feel, he said, his voice raw. And I've spent too long running from that. The surgery was a success. Her father's first steps, a miracle Emily could barely believe. But Grayson was her anchor, his presence steady through the chaos. They met again, in stolen moments at his hospital where he was doctor. Blackwood, all precision and control. Yet in private he was hers, gentle, fierce, a man who saw her scars and called them beautiful. One night, at the Starwave Lounge, he pulled her to a private balcony, the city glittering below. You don't belong here, he said, his hands framing her face. You're too real for their games. She laughed, nervous. I'm just a girl, Grayson, not a princess. You're my queen, he said, and kissed her. The world fell away, their bodies molding together, desire a living thing between them. His hands roamed, igniting sparks, and she arched into him, lost in the heat of his touch. When they parted, breathless, she smiled. I didn't expect you, she said. Expect the unexpected, he murmured, his lips brushing her ear. I'm yours, Emily. The loan sharks didn't stop. They demanded more, their threats a shadow over her father's recovery. Grayson stepped in, his wealth a weapon. But Emily fought too, taking on writing gigs to reclaim her independence. Their love grew in the quiet moments. Nights in his penthouse, her reading poetry while he traced patterns on her skin. One night, as they lay together, the city silent, she kissed the scar on his jaw, a relic of his past. You don't talk about your family, she said. They're a prison, he replied, his voice low. I chose medicine to be free. But you're my home. She melted into him, their bodies entwining, desire giving way to something deeper. His touch was worship, her sighs a prayer, and in that moment they were infinite. Months later, her father walked unaided, his smile brighter than the sun. At a quiet celebration, Grayson stood by Emily, his hand warm in hers. The loan sharks were gone, defeated by their combined strength. The future was theirs, a canvas of possibility. I love you, Grayson said under the stars, his voice steady. I love you too, Emily replied, her heart whole. Their love was no fairy tale. It was raw, forged in fire and choice. But in each other, they found salvation, a passion that burned brighter than the city lights, a life reborn in the heat of one night.